Hello and welcome to this edition of Piedmont Business Live. I'm your host, Ken Morrison. Today we're talking to Tom O'Shea. He is the principal of Agility Consulting, LLC. Tom, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Ken.
First, tell me, we hear the word agility used in the workplace a lot. Mm-hmm. Tell me what this is and how do you know if you have it or not?
Sure can. Agility is a very commonly used term these days. It's almost part of the corporate rhetoric out there. But it's what agility means is the capacity of organizations and leaders to sense and respond better and faster than their competition, and doing that at all levels in their organization.
Okay. So I've heard this term VUCA as well. Tell me what this is and where it came from.
Yeah, VUCA is kind of a funny sounding word, but it was actually coined by the U.S. Army War College almost 10 years ago now, and it stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that's become a shorthand for describing the world that we're operating in today. But if you think about the world of military leaders, it certainly applies to the kind of world that they're being sent out in. And so therefore, the kind of preparation that the U.S. Army War College was doing was to try and equip our leaders to compete in that kind of a VUCA world.
Gotcha. Now, you and your partner have published a book that you've brought a copy with you, and it's called Focused, Fast, and Flexible, Creating Agility Advantage in a VUCA World. What do you mean by agility advantage?
Well, as we think about the context of a VUCA world, a volatile world that's operating with much greater speed and turbulence, how do we adapt and thrive in that? And some organizations are doing that. Others are falling into what's called accelerated obsolescence, where we've got businesses and leaders that are becoming increasingly obsolete at a faster rate. But those organizations that can learn to build out those capabilities that really make a difference and help you be more nimble, more adaptable, more resilient, have the opportunity to really have a differentiation, an advantage in how they operate.
And I've seen many companies that resist changes in technology, for example, and moving forward. And it seems, based on what you're saying, those companies really stand to put themselves at a significant disadvantage in the business world because of their inflexibility.
Absolutely. We're seeing businesses change and become irrelevant all the time because new things are coming. 5 years ago, 8 years ago, did anybody know what Uber meant? And so now it's a verb. We're Uberizing things. And so what we're finding is that if you're not ready to change, you're putting yourself at risk. And the old saying goes, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance a lot less.
Absolutely. You've been recognized by American Management Association and Project Management Institute and other prestigious organizations as being a pioneer and thought leader in this area called agility. Describe for me your Agile model.
Sure. Ken, we've been doing this for 15 years now, focused on this framework around agility. Back in the early days, we had to explain why it was necessary. Don't have to do that any longer. But we have a proprietary model called the Agile Model, which captures the 5 key drivers that make a difference. And it's all about how well do we anticipate change? Mm-hmm. How well do we generate confidence within our organizations and with our customers? How well do we initiate action better and faster? How well do we liberate thinking in terms of building out new ideas and the capacity for new ideas? And then lastly, how well do we evaluate results in terms of understanding what does success mean, and does everybody in our organization understand that? It's amazing how that spells agile, when you look at it.
And as you're describing that, what really struck me was talking about liberating ideas and thinking. That seems to be very important in larger businesses, especially to really capitalize on the thoughts and ideas of your entire team.
Oh, absolutely. And those organizations that really have found a way to unleash that and involve their teams into creating that kind of innovation are just moving at an exponential rate versus those that aren't. because every day is, we're faced with new problems that we don't have solutions developed for. And when we can engage our full teams into coming up with the ideas that matter, again, that's part of that whole advantage proposition.
It seems to me the older I get, the more I realize that having these fresh ideas from younger people really helps to adapt to the changing business models today.
And it's good to recognize that, because this is the first time we've had 4 generations in the workforce at one time. And when some of the challenges some organizations have is not really recognizing the validity and the power of the idea generation that comes from millennials or Xers, the different groups that are there.
So based on your experience, what are the most important things a business owner or leaders need to focus on today to help their agility?
Really, I think it comes down to 3 things. It comes down to first making sure that we have good clarity, in terms of understanding what is our value proposition, what's going to make us successful, and not just having that at the senior leadership kind of level or at the business owner level, but does everybody in the organization have a good understanding of what we must be more agile about, and what it is that success represents? The second point is unity. How can you as a business leader get everybody on that page and create the environment where everybody feels involved and feel like they are able to contribute? And then the last thing is the agility part. In terms of, do we understand what it is we got to do better and faster? What's our big miss? Hank Haney's a golf coach that likes to talk about the way to improve your game is to find your big miss. Well, what's your big agility miss?
Okay. If someone wanted to start this journey towards a more agile leader or company, what should they do first?
I think the first thing they ought to do is get really centered around that why question. Why do we exist? And in terms of really understanding the things that make us successful. Second part is the how we can, deliver that down through our organizations. And we can start by doing an agility audit. Take those 5 drivers that I talked about and look inside your own organization. Involve your people around that question, how well do we anticipate change? That question, how well do we generate confidence, initiate action, liberate thinking? Use those as a framework for doing your own agility audit, and it'll help you identify where are your obstacles, to being more nimble and more adaptable.
And I think that's where the advantage of hiring someone like you comes in, where it's easier for you to see what's going on in your company when it's kind of being presented to you through a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a doctor, in terms of looking at the health of your organization and having the experience and the rigor in assessment tools and diagnostic tools to help business owners of all size identify what are those things, the vital signs, to our future health.
Okay. One last thing, where can people pick up copies of your book?
Well, definitely in terms of Amazon.com,
Yeah.
Is there. You can also check out our website, which is agilityconsulting.com. And those that want it in bulk, that's a great place to come and visit. And also learn about the other things that we do and how we help other organizations with, building more focused, fast, and flexible leaders, teams, and overall organizations.
Terrific. Tom, thanks so much for sharing your insights about your business and agility, and gives a lot of people a lot of great things to think about as they move forward in their business. And we appreciate your time being here. And if you want to know more about Agility Consulting LLC, you can visit their website. The link is at the bottom of this page, and it's also at the end of this video. Tom, we wish you great success. Thanks for being
Ken.
with us. Thanks for tuning in to Piedmont Business Live. We'll see you again next time.